Good to go.
This is what I know.
Get down! Get down!
I already know, and this is what I know.
Go in, get it, get it.
Let her come through. No.
Shut the fuck up.
No.
Yeah.
Because he put his hands on me, so I'm not shutting up. Don't.
February 19th, 2026, Hartford, Connecticut. Sometime before 10 in the morning, a family makes a decision, a hard one. The kind of decision that takes deliberation, that takes trust, that takes courage, because they know what can happen when certain people show up at your door. They do not call 911, they call 211. That distinction is everything. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why. 53-year-old Everard Walker is inside his third-floor apartment on Capitol Avenue. He is not well. His family knows it. They love him. They want him evaluated. They want a doctor. They want someone trained to handle exactly this kind of moment, to walk through that door and bring him back to himself. What they get instead is 11 police officers. And Everard Walker never walks out of that apartment alive. If you are new here, this channel exists to make sure stories like this one do not get buried. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, and let's get into it. Before we talk about what happened in that apartment, I need you to know who was in it. Everard Walker was 53 years old, a Jamaican man, a father of 6. He had been with his partner, Linda Gray, for 29 years. They would have celebrated their anniversary on February 21st, 2 days after the shooting. His daughter Menon said her father always put his kids first. Always. His brother Charles described a man who was his world. Linda Gray said it plainest of all. Everard was my world. He was my healer. This was not a stranger. This was not a name on a report. This was a man who showed up for his family every single day. Now, here is the context you need about his mental health, because it matters to everything that follows. Last fall, Everard Walker had a psychotic episode linked to a laced cigarette, something that happened to him, not something he chose. He was involuntarily hospitalized. And while he was locked away, unable to get to the people he loved, his 29-year-old stepdaughter died of cancer. He missed her death. He missed her funeral. He never got to say goodbye. By February 2026, Walker had run out of his medication. He was struggling. His family could see it. And so they did what a family that loves someone is supposed to do. They asked for help. Now, let me teach you something, because this is where the legal education starts and where the systemic failure begins. 211 is not 911. In Connecticut, 211 is the Health and Human Services helpline specifically designed as an alternative to calling police during a mental health crisis. The state of Connecticut invested $5 million building out its mental health crisis infrastructure, including something called the Heart Team in Hartford, specifically so that a situation like Everard Walker's would not require a police response. $5 million. The family knew this. That is why they called 211 and not 911. Walker's son Jadane made that call. The family told the operator repeatedly, Everard is not dangerous to himself, he is not dangerous to the community, he ran out of his medication. He needs an evaluation, he needs a doctor. They were not calling in a threat, they were calling in a father. 2 clinicians from the Capital Region Mental Health Center were dispatched, 2 trained professionals equipped to handle exactly this. That is, the system working the way it was designed to work. But then, those clinicians made a request. They asked Hartford police to accompany them. And right there, right at that moment, the door opened to everything that followed. If the people specifically trained to handle mental health crises felt they needed police backup to walk into Everard Walker's apartment, what does that tell you about how this city views black men in mental health crisis? Not as patients, not as human beings who need care, as threats that need to be managed. That request changed. Everything. Let me walk you through what happened, beat by beat, because the timeline matters. Officers arrive alongside the clinicians. Walker's son and daughter are present. The clinicians begin speaking with Walker through the open doorway. That is the protocol. And for a while, it works. Nobody is in immediate danger. The situation is tense, but contained. Then, officers attempt to enter. Walker pushes back. Officers retreat, fearing he might throw a pot of boiling water at them. And here is the thing: they made the right call. They stepped back. They de-escalated. No shots fired. Nobody hurt. Negotiations continue for nearly an entire hour. Let that sink in. For almost 60 minutes, Everard Walker is in that apartment with his children, with mental health professionals, with police outside his door, and nobody is dead. The situation is being managed. Then, just before 11 in the morning, Walker tries to close his door. His own son, the same son who made the 211 call to get his father help, physically tries to restrain him. Officers decide to re-enter to assist. Inside that cramped apartment, Walker produces a knife. Officers order him to drop it. He does not comply. Officer Giovanni Rivera loses his footing and falls backward. Officer Alexander Clifford fires multiple shots. Everard Walker is struck in the torso, in the neck, in his right arm. He is transported to St. Francis Hospital. He is pronounced dead. From a 211 call to a homicide in 1 hour. Now, let me put on my legal education hat. First, the knife. The family's attorney described it as a ratchet, a 4-inch pocket knife, common in Jamaican culture. And here is what I need you to notice before the investigation was even complete. Before any determination of whether this shooting was justified, the Office of the Inspector General released still images of Everard Walker holding that knife. Why? Who does that serve? It does not serve Everard Walker. It does not serve his family. What it does is construct a narrative, a justification before we even have all the facts. That is a tactic. Recognize it. Second, use of force law. Under Connecticut law and the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, deadly force by a police officer is only legally justified when the officer reasonably believes there is an imminent threat of death or serious bodily harm. The key word is reasonable. 11 officers. A cramped third-floor apartment. One man with a 4-inch knife who ran out of his medication. Did Everard Walker require a lethal response? Or did 11 officers crowding into a small apartment create the very conditions that made a lethal outcome almost inevitable? The family's attorney asked it directly. How does it go from 2 social workers and 2 police officers to 11 officers barging into his house and killing him? That is not just a moral question. That is a legal and administrative question this city needs to answer. Third, the homicide ruling. The medical examiner ruled Everard Walker's death a homicide. I need you to understand what that means legally, because people confuse this constantly. A homicide ruling classifies the manner of death one human being caused the death of another. It is not an automatic criminal charge, but it keeps the door open. The Inspector General still has to decide whether to refer this case for prosecution. That ruling is a foundation, and the family's legal team is building on it. Fourth, Connecticut's Police Accountability Act. This is one of the strongest police accountability laws in the country. It allows civil lawsuits against individual officers and against municipalities for excessive force or constitutional violations. This matters because of qualified immunity, the federal doctrine that has historically made it nearly impossible to sue police officers in federal court. Connecticut's law creates a state-level pathway around that barrier. The Walker family does not have to clear the impossible federal bar. That is a tool, and they are using it. Now let me zoom out, because what happened to Everard Walker did not happen in isolation. 8 days after he was killed, 8 days Hartford police responded to another mental health call. Another black man, another family that called for help. His name was Stephen Jones, 55 years old. Officer Joseph Magnano arrived on the scene, and within 30 seconds, he opened fire. 9 shots. Jones died. 2 black men. 2 mental health calls. 2 families who asked for help, 11 days apart. The pattern is not a coincidence. The pattern is the system. The community said enough. Organizations across Hartford made 5 demands of the mayor and police chief: a public briefing, termination of the officers involved, the Inspector General investigation completed within 6 months, permanent mental health crisis funding, and full activation of the Police Accountability Review Board. Mayor Arulampalam issued a statement about transparency and accountability. He did not commit to the briefing. He did not commit to firing the officers. He did not commit to the review board. Officer Magnano, who shot Stephen Jones, was eventually fired. Officer Clifford, who shot Everard Walker, remained on duty. The difference in how the same administration handled these 2 cases tells you something. Sit with that. Both men killed were black. Both families called the system designed to help them. Both were met with bullets. This is not feelings. This is history. This is a community that still had the faith to call 211 to try to do things right and still lost their father, their husband, their healer. How does a 211 call end up in a barrage of bullets? Who is going to trust 211? Who is going to trust the system when the system keeps doing this? The vigil was held 2 weeks after the shooting. His daughter said, "Hartford police won't walk me down the aisle at my wedding." His brother said, "What happened in that apartment leaves us with more questions than answers." And Linda Gray, 29 years, 6 children, a life built together, looked into a camera and said 3 words. "He killed my husband." That is all she had left to give. Here is where we land. Everard Walker did not die because he was a danger to this city. He died because a system that was supposed to protect him failed him at every single turn. It failed him when police were sent on a call that should have been handled without them. It failed him when 2 officers became 11. It failed him when a man in mental health crisis, holding a small knife, was met with lethal force instead of the patience that had already been working for almost an hour. And it failed him because he was black in America, where calling for help has never been a guarantee of receiving it. The family followed the rules. They called the right number. They said he was not dangerous. They were present. They were trying. And it still was not enough. Say his name. Everard Walker. Father. Partner. Healer. 53 years old. He deserved a doctor. He deserved care. He deserved to watch his daughter walk down that aisle. He deserved to come home. If this video moved, you share it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you are new here, subscribe, because this is what we do. Every single week, we make sure these stories do not disappear. I will see you in the next one.
Let her come through.
Zinga, shut up.
No.
Actually, shut the fuck up.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Because he put his hands on me, so I'm not shutting up. Don't.
That's what happened.
Okay. Do you have anything illegal in the car?
No.
Okay. You don't have any crack?
I don't.
Weed?
Sir, I'm a fucking business owner, okay?
Okay.
I don't have no crack. I don't have no weed. I don't sell drugs, do drugs, no none of that bullshit. It's not a question.
It was a question.
That's very derogatory for you to say. Probably because I'm black. He was a black man,
I already
and y'all
told you
think
that
it looked like we were selling drugs. No, because I'm highly upset that I feel offended.
Upset.
I would like it too. There you go.
Bianca, are you still living on Allenview?
Yes.
Okay. What were you doing over in New Cumberland right over there?
Dropping my son off.
Okay. What'd you hand off to the gentleman that walked back in the house?
His coffee cup.
His coffee cup?
Yes. Okay. I'm tired of him leaving his mess in my car.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything illegal in the car?
You want to search it?
I mean, if you want to let me search it.
Like, what do y'all think we did a transaction or something?
Well, that's what it looked like.
Because we're black?
No. I couldn't see in your car. Your window tints too dark.
Okay,
anyway.
so exactly. So, but it looked like we were doing a drug transaction.
Yeah. So you pulled up. He came out. You handed something to him. He walked back in the house.
You missed it.
We're not going to argue about it.
I came from this way, went around, took him home,
I saw where
dropped
you came
him
from.
off.
I saw where you came from.
And I dropped him off to his house.
Okay.
He left his cup here because I'm tired of his shit being in my car. I beeped the horn, gave him his cup.
Okay.
That's what happened.
Okay. Do you have anything illegal in the car?
No.
Okay. You don't have any crack?
I don't.
Weed?
Sir, I'm a fucking business owner, okay?
Okay.
I don't have no crack. I don't have no weed. I don't sell drugs, do drugs, no none of that bullshit.
It's
not a question.
It was a question.
That's very derogatory for you to say. Probably because I'm black. He was a black man,
I already
and y'all
told you
think
that
it looked like we were selling drugs. No, because I'm highly upset that I feel offended.
Upset.
I know. Come on, what we doing here? What we doing?
Would you be willing to let me search your car?
No! For what?
Well, because it looked like you did a drug transaction back
I gave him a coffee cup.
Okay. What kind of coffee cup?
It was a white fucking coffee cup.
Why are you screaming?
Because I can't believe because you keep saying that we made a drug transaction.
And that's what it looked like. Okay?
Wow.
It's simple questions.
It isn't, sir. That's not fair. That's not fair.
It's not fair. I'm sorry.
I know, and you police officers are horrible.
I'm horrible.
You
don't even know
police
me.
officers, sir. What we going to do, sir?
So now you're grouping me into a group of people.
And you're grouping me into a group of people where it looked like I was doing a drug transaction.
You could have been Mexican. You could have been white. You could have been green. You could have been yellow.
And I'm black, and it looked like that I was making a drug transaction.
Okay. All right.
And now you being a police officer, you people are horrible.
10-4. 10-4. So you don't have anything in the car?
Sir, I don't have nothing in my car.
What's the name of the gentleman that you stopped with?
That's my son, Anthony.
The bigger guy.
Yes.
That's your son?
I'm 55 fucking years old. I'll be 56 in
like
February. What we doing here, sir?
I'm asking questions. I'm doing my job.
Okay.
All right.
And you going to
His
do what you
name's
need to do with that?
His name's Anthony?
Yes.
What's
Are
his
you
last
going to
name?
do what you're going to do with that?
I am. What's his last name?
I can't believe. Hold on.
On January 15th, 2026, a 5-year-old black businesswoman in Fairview Township, Pennsylvania, handed her son a coffee cup he forgot in her car. A police officer watched it happen. And his first instinct was crack cocaine. You don't have any crack? That is what he said to her. Not marijuana, not any substances. Crack. And she was recording the whole thing. That afternoon, Bianca Tatum had dropped her son Anthony off at his house, noticed he left his coffee cup behind, circled back, beeped her horn, handed it to him through the window, and drove off. A 30-second errand. Something millions of people do every single day. By the time it was over, she had been pulled over, interrogated, accused of running a drug transaction, and asked whether she was carrying crack cocaine. The officer faced no consequences. The video went viral, and now we are going to walk through exactly what happened. Before we go further, this channel exists for stories like this one. Stories about black people living their lives who get treated like suspects. If that is the kind of truth your feed has been missing, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. Because this story, like most of them, does not end here. Fairview Township is a quiet suburban community in Cumberland County, Pennsylvania. The kind of place where people expect ordinary days to stay ordinary. Bianca Tatum is a 5-year-old black businesswoman and mother. On the afternoon in question, she had driven her son Anthony to his house, dropped him off, and noticed he had left his coffee cup in her car. She was tired of him leaving his things behind. She said so herself on the recording. So she turned around, beeped her horn, he came back out, she handed him the cup, and she drove away. 2 police officers were watching. One was Officer Lucas Alexander of the Fairview Township Police Department. The other was Agent Edwards, a drug task force agent with the Attorney General's office. What they believed they had just witnessed would set the next several minutes on fire. Officer Alexander pulled Bianca over almost immediately, and the first thing worth noting is that he already knew who she was. His opening question was not, "Can I see your license?" It was, "Are you still living on Allen View?" He knew her name, he knew her address. He approached this stop with existing information about this woman. He then asked what she had handed the man who walked back into the house. She told him plainly, his coffee cup. She was tired of him leaving his things in her car. Simple, clear, completely ordinary. The officer's next question was whether she had anything illegal in the vehicle. Not, "Can you explain what just happened?" Not, "I just want to confirm what I saw." Straight to, "Do you have anything illegal?" She offered to let him search the car. And then she asked the obvious question, "What did you think we were doing? A transaction or something?" His answer was, "Yes, that is what it looked like." She told him the reason it looked that way to him. Because we are black. He denied it. He said he could not see into her car because it was too dark. And here is where you need to stop and sit with that for a moment. He admits he could not see what was being handed over. He could not make out what it was. And yet he pulled her over. And yet his next question was about crack cocaine, not marijuana. Not a general question about substances. Crack. He went straight to crack. Bianca told him she was a business owner. She does not do drugs, does not sell drugs, none of it. He kept pressing. He asked again if she would let him search the car. She said no. He kept insisting it looked like a drug transaction. She kept telling him it was a coffee cup. Then came the moment that the officer cannot walk back. When she told him that Anthony was her son, he responded, "The bigger guy?" That's your son? The surprise in that question is not subtle. He looked at a tall black man and could not connect him to this woman as her child. He looked at them and saw something other than a mother and son. He told her she did not look old enough. She told him she was 55 years old and would be 56 inches February. She never stopped pushing back. She told him directly, "You are grouping me into a category because I am black." He offered her the deflection that has become almost a script at this point. You could have been Mexican, white, green, yellow. He listed colors that do not exist as skin tones to argue he does not see race. She was not moved, and she should not have been. The word crack is the turning point of this entire encounter. Not because it is the most dramatic moment, but because it is the most revealing one. When an officer cannot see what is being exchanged, when he admits visibility was the issue, the word he reaches for tells you what assumption was already sitting in his mind before he even approached the car. He did not say, "I could not tell what it was." He did not say, "It looked like an exchange of some kind." He said, "crack," specifically, immediately. That word did not come from what he observed. It came from what he assumed. And what he assumed was shaped by who he was looking at. No drugs were found. No charges were filed. Bianca Tatum was free to go. But free to go is not the same as unharmed. She drove away having been publicly accused of selling crack cocaine to her own son. She drove away having had to defend her identity, her profession, her family, and her basic dignity on the side of a road in her own community. And her son Anthony, the bigger guy, stood there and watched his mother be treated like a criminal for handing him a cup of coffee. That is what she walked away with. Here is the constitutional question at the center of this stop. The Fourth Amendment does not bend for suspicion that makes someone uncomfortable. It requires reasonable suspicion, specific, articulable facts that a crime is taking place. Not a feeling. Not an assumption. Facts. The officer's own words undermine his own justification. He said he could not see into the car. He said it was too dark, which means he did not have specific articulable facts. He had a hunch, and that hunch was dressed up as police work. Bianca exercised her rights correctly. She declined to consent to a vehicle search. She declined to provide her son's last name. She was not legally required to do either. And critically, no evidence was found and no charges were filed. That absence speaks loudly about what the legal basis for that stop actually was. Officer Lucas Alexander was sworn into the Fairview Township Police Department on October 14, 2025. That means this encounter happened less than 3 months into his time at this department. He had come from a different department where he had served for 2 years. As of Bianca's most recent public update, she had reached out to Fairview Township, but had not yet been able to speak to the appropriate person. She described the process of following proper steps while making clear she had no intention of letting this go quietly. There has been no public statement from the Fairview Township Police Department addressing the substance of her complaint. No acknowledgement, no accountability. Not yet. Let us be direct about what this stop fits into. A black mother and her adult son. A hand-to-hand exchange the officer admits he could not see clearly. The immediate leap to crack cocaine. The surprise that a large black man could be someone's son. The dismissal of her explanation even after she gave it clearly and calmly. The "you could have been green, you could have been yellow" deflection when she named race directly. This is a pattern. It is documented. It is consistent. Black women are routinely treated as suspects in the spaces of their own ordinary lives, in their cars, in their neighborhoods, running errands that would not raise a single eyebrow if they look different. The narrative of suspicion follows them into moments that should be invisible. Handing your son a coffee cup should be invisible. It was not invisible for Bianca Tatum. Bianca Tatum has been clear. She is taking this to the highest level she can reach. She is following the proper steps. She is not letting up. The video has been seen by hundreds of thousands of people. The officers have been identified. The department has been put on notice. What happens next depends on whether the systems that are supposed to provide accountability actually function the way they are supposed to. This channel will bring updates as they come. Bianca Tatum was running an errand. She handed her son a coffee cup. She drove away. That is the entirety of what she did. What was done to her in return was that an officer who admitted he could not see what was in her hand decided the word for it was crack. And when she told him exactly why that assumption landed the way it did, he offered her green and yellow as proof that race had nothing to do with it. She did not accept that. And neither should we. This channel does not tell you what to believe, but it will always tell you what happened. And what happened here is that a black woman in Pennsylvania was made to defend her humanity on the side of a road for handing her son a cup of coffee. That has a name. And that name is not doing his job. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Silence is how these things get buried, and this one deserves to be heard.
Give me your hands! Give me your hands now! Give me your hands, motherfucker! Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Put your hands behind your back! Show me your hands! Right here. I will kill you! Put your hands behind your back now! Give me your hands!
Caliber, I think they're on foot somewhere.
It's July 28th, 2023. It's a Thursday morning in Kentucky, just after 10 o'clock. And somewhere on the roads, cutting through the bluegrass state, a man named Robert Kidd is behind the wheel of a stolen car, and he is running. Kentucky State Police have been alerted. The suspect is reported to be armed, he is reported to be dangerous, and he is not stopping. What follows is not a short pursuit. This chase stretches across 4 Kentucky counties. It spans 2 separate KSP post areas. Multiple law enforcement agencies get involved, coordinating across radio channels, trying to bring a dangerous situation to a close. This is a significant, large-scale pursuit moving through Kentucky roads on a Thursday morning. Dispatch is active, troopers are communicating. Everyone is focused on one thing, stopping Robert Kidd. Among the troopers who responds to that dispatch call is a man named Hayden Kilborn. Kilborn is a Kentucky State Trooper. He has a badge, a uniform, a weapon, and a responsibility. When the call goes out, he answers it. He joins the pursuit. At this point, there is nothing unusual about any of that. This is what troopers do. This is the job. But what Kilborn does next will cost him everything. If this is your first time here, welcome. This channel exists to make sure stories like this one don't get buried. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, and let's get into it. Eventually, after miles of pursuit across 4 counties, troopers managed to deploy a tire deflation device. It works exactly as it's supposed to. The tire goes flat, the stolen vehicle slows, and in Carroll County, Kentucky, the car comes to a stop. The chase is over, or at least it should be. Robert Kidd throws open the door of that vehicle and runs. On foot, into the woods. The foot pursuit is on. Hayden Kilborn is among the troopers giving chase. He is gaining on Robert Kidd, and then he deploys his taser. Kidd goes down. The foot pursuit is over. At this moment, the situation is under control. The suspect is on the ground. He is not running. He is not fighting. The chase, the long, multi-county, multi-agency chase, is finished. Robert Kidd is on the ground in the woods in Carroll County, and he is not going anywhere. This is the moment where training is supposed to take over, where everything a law enforcement officer has been taught about use of force, about de-escalation, about the difference between apprehension and punishment, this is where all of that is supposed to kick in. Robert Kidd raises his hands, he is complying, and Trooper Hayden Kilborn reaches for his baton. What you are watching right now is body camera footage that KSP chose to release publicly because even the agency itself knew that what was on this tape needed to be seen. Kilborn strikes Robert Kidd with the baton. Not once, not twice, multiple times. Blow after blow landing on Kidd's arms and upper body as Kidd lies there on the ground, showing his hands, doing the one thing you are always told to do when law enforcement has you at their mercy, comply. Submit. Show them you are not a threat. It made no difference. KSP's own public statement described what this camera captured in plain, unambiguous language. During the baton strikes, the suspect was seen on body camera footage appearing to comply and show his hands to Trooper Kilborn. That is not the language of a civil rights organization. That is not the language of a protest sign. That is the Kentucky State Police describing what their own officer did, in their own words, in an official public statement. The man was complying, and he was beaten anyway. When it was over, Robert Kidd was left with 7 stitches to his upper lip. His teeth were broken. His face and body were covered in bruising. 7 stitches. Broken teeth from a man who had already been tased, who was already on the ground, who was already showing his hands. Word of what happened gets back to KSP command quickly. An administrative review of the incident is launched almost immediately, and what that review finds is not ambiguous. There is no prolonged internal debate about whether what Kilborn did was justified. The agency looks at the footage and they reach a conclusion fast. 5 days after the beating, 5 days, not 5 months, not 5 years. Commissioner Philip Burnett Jr. issues an intent to dismiss Hayden Kilborn. Not a written warning, not additional training, not a temporary reassignment, an intent to fire him permanently from the Kentucky State Police. That is a significant and rare thing. Police departments across this country have a long and well-documented history of protecting officers who use excessive force, of closing ranks, of finding justifications for behavior that cameras show clearly was unjustifiable. The fact that KSP's commissioner moved to fire Kilbourne within 5 days of the incident speaks to just how indefensible this footage was. There was simply no version of events where what Kilbourne did could be explained away, but Kilbourne was not going without a fight. Under Kentucky law specifically, KRS Chapter 16, Kilbourne had the right to challenge his dismissal, and he exercised that right. He requested a hearing before the KSP trial board. He made his case. The board heard the evidence, and they blinked. Instead of upholding the termination, the KSP trial board reduced Kilbourne's punishment to a 6-month suspension without pay. 6 months for beating a compliant black man on the ground with a baton, for the broken teeth, for the 7 stitches, for the bruising that covered Robert Kidd's body, for the violation of every standard and principle that law enforcement claims to stand for. 6 months without a paycheck. That suspension ended on February 15th, 2024. Now, to be fair, and this story deserves fairness, even in the places where the system fell short, KSP did not simply dust off Kilbourne's badge and send him back out onto Kentucky roads after those 6 months. Because by the time that suspension ended, something else was already in motion. Something that would ultimately prove far more consequential than any internal disciplinary process, a criminal investigation. KSP had launched a criminal investigation into the incident on August 4th, 2023, just 1 week after the beating. And while that investigation moved forward, Kilbourne was placed on administrative assignment in the Office of Technical Services. His sworn law enforcement duties were suspended. He had no police powers. He was not on the road. He was not making arrests. He was not in a position to do to anyone else what he had done to Robert Kidd. The investigation moved methodically. These things take time. Evidence has to be gathered carefully, thoroughly, in a way that will hold up in court. And so the weeks turned into months. Summer became fall. And on September 18th, 2023, nearly 2 months after the beating, KSP submitted the case to the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor reviewed the evidence, reviewed the body camera footage, reviewed the injuries sustained by Robert Kidd, and filed charges. 2 charges against Hayden Kilbourne, assault in the 2nd degree, and terroristic threatening in the 3rd degree. 1 day later, September 19th, 2023, Kilbourne was charged and arrested, a sitting Kentucky state trooper in handcuffs, booked on felony charges, because of what he did to a black man in the woods after a car chase. That moment, Kilbourne's arrest, is something that simply does not happen as often as it should. Police officers are charged with crimes at a fraction of the rate that civilians are, even when the evidence is clear, even when the footage exists. The machinery that is supposed to protect communities from excessive force has historically protected officers from accountability instead. Kilbourne's arrest was not nothing. It was the system doing something it too rarely does, treating a law enforcement officer like a person subject to the same laws he swore to uphold. With a felony indictment now hanging over him, Kilbourne could no longer serve as a road trooper. The law was clear on that. And so, he remained in administrative limbo assigned to the Office of Technical Services, stripped of his powers, waiting for the courts to decide his fate. That waiting stretched on. Months passed. 2023 gave way to 2024. The criminal case worked its way through the Kentucky court system at the pace these things move slowly, deliberately, with continuances and hearings and motions filed and argued. All while Robert Kidd, the man whose teeth were broken and whose lip needed 7 stitches, waited too. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, the calendar turned again. 2024 became 2025, and 2025 became 2026. In January of 2026, 2.5 years after that Thursday morning in Carroll County, Hayden Kilbourne stood before a court and entered a sede plea, guilty, not guilty. Not a trial where a jury had to be convinced. Not a hung jury or a mistrial or an acquittal on technicalities. Kilbourne looked at the evidence against him, at the body camera footage that captured every baton strike, at the charges laid before him, and he pleaded guilty. Guilty to assault in the 2nd degree. Guilty to terroristic threatening in the 3rd degree. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He agreed as a condition of the plea not to seek probation. He would serve his time. He surrendered his law enforcement credentials permanently. Everything that came with the badge, the authority, the identity, the career he had built, gone. And on January 13th, 2026, Hayden Kilbourne submitted his resignation from the Kentucky State Police. He has not been employed by the agency since. Now let's talk about Robert Kidd, Because his story didn't end in those Carroll County woods either. Kidd was prosecuted too. Whatever happened to him at the hands of Trooper Kilbourne, Robert Kidd did steal a vehicle. He did lead police on a dangerous pursuit across 4 counties. He did flee on foot when the car was stopped. None of that disappears because of what Kilbourne did to him. And the courts treated it accordingly. Robert Kidd was sentenced to 3 years in prison for the stolen vehicle and the chase. 3 years. Hayden Kilbourne was sentenced to 5 years. The cop got more time than the suspect. The man who stole a car and ran from police received a 3-year sentence. The man who wore a badge and a uniform and swore an oath to protect and serve, and then beat a compliant black man on the ground with a baton, received 5 years. In a landscape where police accountability is rare, where officers who kill unarmed black men walk free, where body camera footage sometimes seems to change nothing, Hayden Kilbourne received a longer prison sentence than the man he victimized. Robert Kidd is expected to be released from custody later this year. He will walk out of that facility carrying everything that was done to him, the physical scars, the broken teeth, whatever that experience left behind in his body and his mind. And Hayden Kilbourne will be in prison. That is accountability. Imperfect, delayed, but real. But the story is still not over. Because Robert Kidd has filed a civil lawsuit against Hayden Kilbourne, and this matters in ways that go beyond the criminal case. The criminal prosecution addressed what Kilbourne did as a violation of the law. The guilty plea, the 5-year sentence, the surrender of credentials, all of that is the state of Kentucky saying this man broke the law and must answer for it. The civil lawsuit is something different. The civil lawsuit is Robert Kidd saying, what about me? What about what was taken from me? What about the pain, the injuries, everything I went through? What is that worth? What does justice look like not just for the state of Kentucky, but for the human being whose face was broken and whose body was bruised in those Carroll County woods? The lawsuit claims that Kidd posed no threat at the time of the beating, that there was absolutely no justification, none, for the force that Kilbourne used against him. That what happened to Robert Kidd was not a split-second mistake in a dangerous situation. It was an assault. Plain and simple. That case is still working its way through the courts. We do not yet know how it will be resolved, but it is there. Robert Kidd is pursuing every avenue available to him. We will be watching. On March 19th, 2026, the Kentucky State Police released this body camera footage publicly. They didn't have to do that. There is no law that required them to put this footage out for the world to see. They chose to. Commissioner Burnett stood before a camera and made a statement. He said that former Trooper Kilbourne's actions were out of line and rightfully prosecuted. He said that troopers have a duty to uphold the law in all ways. And KSP Sergeant Matt Sudduth, the public affairs commander, said in his own statement that this trooper violated the sacred duty of policing. The sacred duty of policing. Those words came from inside the Kentucky State Police. From the people who wear the same uniform Kilbourne wore. From the agency that trained him, hired him, and ultimately had to reckon with what he did. That acknowledgement matters. It doesn't undo the broken teeth or the 7 stitches. It doesn't give Robert Kidd back the morning of July 28th, 2023. But it matters. Because so often, that acknowledgement never comes. Here is what I need you to carry with you when you leave this video. Robert Kidd is a black man. He was on the ground. He was tased. He was showing his hands. He was complying. And he was beaten with a baton anyway. We know this not because of an accusation, not because of a protest, not because of a civil rights attorney holding a press conference. We know this because the camera was rolling, and the camera does not lie. And here is the harder question underneath all of it. This case ended in accountability because the camera existed, because the footage was clear, because KSP chose to investigate rather than bury it, because a prosecutor had the courage to file charges, because Kilbourne ultimately pleaded guilty. Every single one of those things had to go right for justice to happen here. But how many times do none of those things go right? How many times is there no camera, or the footage is never released, or the investigation goes nowhere, or the prosecutor declines to file, or the officer walks free? How many Robert Kidds are there who never got a guilty plea, who never saw the man who beat them sentenced to 5 years, who are out here right now with broken teeth and bruised bodies and no accountability to show for it? That is the question this case forces us to ask. Not just about Carroll County, not just about the Kentucky State Police, but about every badge and every baton and every road in this country where a black man can end up on the ground showing his hands and still not be safe. The camera was there this time. It is not always there, and that should keep all of us up at night. I will see you in the next one.
I have shown you my license, my registration.
No, I'll decide what's valid. How'd you pay for this vehicle?
With my own money. Same way anyone does.
Right. Cars like this don't come from honest work, not in my experience.
You just told me on camera
that I cannot afford this.
Sheriff Saul Howard had been in law enforcement for 16 years. He had made hundreds of stops. He believed he could read a situation before a word was spoken. The night he pulled behind a jet black Cadillac Escalade at the Hatcher Road BP station outside Caldwell, North Carolina, he was certain again. He was wrong in a way that would cost him everything. Howard positioned his patrol vehicle directly behind the Escalade, blocking the exit, and activated his lights. The vehicle was brand new. Temporary tags sat in the rear window. The woman who stepped out of the driver's seat was in her early 30s, dressed in a dark blazer and slacks, with the composed bearing of someone who had just come from a long day at an office. Howard watched her from behind his windshield for several seconds before he got out. He had already made his decision. He approached with his flashlight raised and his hand resting on his belt. He told her that in his experience, cars like the one she was driving did not come from honest work. He told her he wanted to know how a woman like her ended up behind the wheel of something that expensive. The woman kept her hands visible. She asked him, without raising her voice, what traffic violation she had committed and what the legal basis for the stop was. Howard told her he would ask the questions. Before we continue, drop a comment and tell us where you are watching from. If you believe that what you are about to read should never happen to anyone, hit like and subscribe. Every story on this channel documents what happens when racial profiling meets the wrong person. This is one of those stories. What Sheriff Saul Howard did not know was that the woman standing in front of him had just finished a 13-hour shift at the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Charlotte Field office. Her name was Tanisha Coppersmith. She was a special agent in the Organized Crime Division, 22 months into a joint operation with the Drug Enforcement Administration targeting a money laundering network, moving illicit funds across 4 states. She had graduated summa cum laude from Spelman College. She had earned her law degree from the University of Virginia School of Law. She had passed the Bureau's full background investigation, psychological evaluation, and physical fitness screening without a single flag. She had spent 4 years of her career learning, in precise detail, how men who abused institutional authority operated, how they built cases, covered tracks, and convinced themselves their power was permanent. The Escalade had been purchased with 4 years of federal savings and a $12,000 inheritance from her Aunt Gloria, who had worked the same hotel housekeeping position for 31 years because she wanted someone in the family to have options she never had. Tanisha bought the car the month after the funeral. She had never missed a payment. The Hatcher Road BP station was on her direct route home to her apartment in Mooresville, 18 miles north. She had stopped there more than 20 times in the past year. Same pump when it was available, fuel, and a bottle of water. 18 minutes, door to door, and she would be home. Tonight had been particularly long. She had spent most of the day reviewing financial records in connection with the DEA operation, skipped lunch to finish an evidentiary summary due by end of business, and sat through a 2-hour call with prosecutors in the afternoon. Her feet ached. Her eyes were tired. She had inserted her card into the pump when the lights came on behind her. Howard had made his decision before she turned around. Tanisha narrated every movement before making it. She reached into her jacket and produced her driver's license, then walked to the passenger side of the Escalade and retrieved the vehicle registration and insurance card from the glove compartment. She handed all 3 documents to Howard. He examined them under his flashlight. The license showed her photograph, her name, her address in Mooresville. The registration listed the same name on the same vehicle. The insurance was current. Everything matched. Everything was valid. Howard handed the documents back and told her that registration paperwork could be forged. He told her temporary tags were easy to fabricate around a stolen vehicle. He told her he needed to verify ownership properly before he could let her go. Tanisha asked him, with the precise calm of someone trained to stay composed in rooms with dangerous people, to run the vehicle identification number. She told him the call would take under 2 minutes. She asked him again directly, specifically to state the articulable, reasonable suspicion that had justified the stop. Howard said the temporary tags were enough. Tanisha's hands stayed at her sides. She reached into the inside pocket of her blazer, narrated the movement clearly, and produced her Federal Bureau of Investigation credentials. Badge, photograph, full name, badge number, Charlotte Field Office, Organized Crime Division. Howard took them. He turned the badge over. He checked the weight of it, examined the photograph, and read the printed text slowly under his flashlight. Then he handed them back and told her that replica FBI badges were available online. He told her anyone could order one. The gas station attendant had stopped working. A man at a pickup truck 3 spaces over had his phone raised. Howard was aware of it. He did not stop. He had now rejected a valid driver's license, valid registration, valid insurance, and official federal law enforcement credentials. Not because the documents had failed, because none of them matched the conclusion he had already reached before he got out of his vehicle. This was not a misunderstanding. This was a decision. The gas station had changed around them without anyone directing. A woman who had pulled in 2 minutes earlier had not left. Her engine was still running, window down, phone raised through the gap. The attendant had propped the station door open with his foot. 2 teenagers near the air pump stood without speaking. 4 phones were recording from separate angles. 3 exterior security cameras covered the pumps, the forecourt, and the entrance to the lot. Howard was aware of all of it. He kept going anyway. That detail matters. A man who slows down when people are watching believes, somewhere, that he might be wrong. Howard did not slow down. He was not a man who thought he might be wrong. He was a man who had spent 16 years in a county where his judgment had never been seriously questioned, and he had confused that silence for confirmation. Tanisha stood with her hands at her sides and waited. Then, a second patrol vehicle turned into the station. Deputy Ray Sutton was 26 years old and 8 months into the job. He stepped out, looked at the scene, Howard with his flashlight up, Tanisha standing at the rear of the Escalade, 4 phones recording, and understood immediately that something had gone badly wrong. He did not know what. He walked toward them. Tanisha turned to face him. She identified herself as Special Agent Tanisha Coppersmith of the FBI's Charlotte Field Office. She told him she had been detained without cause for approximately 25 minutes. She told him that Sheriff Howard had rejected valid documentation and official federal credentials. She told him, clearly and without drama, that she needed him to understand he was a witness to this interaction. Sutton looked at Howard. Howard told him she was being uncooperative. Then he told Tanisha to step away from the vehicle. He told her she was under arrest for obstruction of a law enforcement investigation. Sutton's face lost its color. He opened his mouth. Howard cut him off before a word came out. Tanisha did not move. She looked at Sutton. She told him to think carefully about what he did next, because when the federal investigation began, every person at this station would be called as a witness, and he would be asked what he did when he saw this happening. Sutton said nothing. Howard reached for his handcuffs. If a law enforcement officer rejected your credentials and tried to arrest you for asking a legal question, what would you do? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you think what you are reading right now should never happen to anyone, share this story. Someone in your feed needs to see it. Howard had the cuffs in his hand when the highway noise shifted. A vehicle had turned off the road and into the station. Not a patrol vehicle, not a county vehicle. A black sport utility vehicle moving at the unhurried pace of something that does not need to announce itself. The plates were federal government issue. 2 people stepped out. The first was a man in his 40s in a dark suit. The second was a woman in her late 50s, silver-haired, in civilian clothes that did nothing to reduce the weight she carried when she moved. Her name was Diane Kelleher. She was the assistant special agent in charge of the FBI's Charlotte Field Office. She was Tanisha Coppersmith's direct supervisor. She was not there because someone called her. She was not there because an alert had been triggered. She was there because agents working active organized crime operations were required to check in with their supervisor upon arriving home at the end of each shift. When Tanisha's check-in was 40 minutes overdue, Kelleher called. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. Bureau protocol for agents on active operations required a supervisor response when contact failed. Kelleher had driven the route herself. She had not been summoned. She had simply followed the evidence of where her agent should have been and wasn't, which was, incidentally, exactly the method Tanisha used to find the people she investigated. Kelleher took in the full scene in 4 seconds. Tanisha standing at the rear of the Escalade, hands at her sides. Howard with his handcuffs out. Sutton frozen between them. 4 phones recording. 3 cameras running. She walked toward Howard. She identified herself by name, title, and office. Then she asked him, in a voice that reached every corner of the forecourt, to explain the legal basis for the stop. Howard opened his mouth. Nothing came out. 17 people were recording the moment a 22-year career began to end. Howard spoke. He told Kelleher he had been conducting a routine inquiry into a suspicious vehicle. He mentioned the temporary tags. He mentioned his 16 years in law enforcement and the instinct he had developed for things that did not add up. He mentioned that federal credentials could be purchased online as replicas. Kelleher let him finish without interrupting once. When he stopped, she summarized, he had pulled behind a vehicle that was legally parked at a gas station. He had not observed a traffic violation. He had not run the plates before approaching the driver. He had rejected a valid driver's license, valid registration, valid insurance, and official federal law enforcement credentials. He had threatened a search without probable cause. He had then attempted to place one of her agents under arrest for asking him to state his legal authority. She asked him whether that summary was accurate. Howard said nothing. Kelleher turned to Sutton and told him to call the department's duty captain. Then she turned back to Howard. She told him to surrender his badge and his weapon. She told him he was done. Tanisha gathered her documents from the hood of the Escalade where Howard had placed them during the stop. She held them for a moment. Then she looked at him. She told him she worked organized crime. She told him she had spent 4 years studying how men who abused institutional authority operated, how they mistook the power they had been given for the judgment they had never earned. She told him she knew how to build a federal case from a single night, and she told him he had given her everything she needed. Then she got into the Escalade, started the engine, and pulled out of the Hatcher Road BP station heading north toward Mooresville. Howard watched the taillights until they were gone. He was still holding his badge when Kelleher extended her hand. The footage was online before midnight. One of the witnesses posted it at 11:43. By the following morning, it had 400,000 views. By Thursday, every major network had aired the clip of Howard telling Tanisha that cars like hers did not come from honest work. Legal analysts called it one of the most explicit documented cases of racial profiling of a federal agent in recent memory. Civil rights organizations issued statements within hours. The FBI confirmed that Special Agent Coppersmith was a decorated member of the Charlotte Field Office, and that the Bureau was treating the incident with full seriousness. The internal investigation began that same week. Over the following 6 weeks, investigators working alongside the FBI's Civil Rights Division reviewed every stop record filed under Howard's name going back 4 years. They found 9 documented cases in which Howard had stopped minority drivers in late-model vehicles without articulable, reasonable suspicion and without any stated legal basis in the official report. In 3 of those cases, no report had been filed at all. Howard was terminated at the conclusion of the investigation. The state of North Carolina revoked his law enforcement certification. Under the county's official misconduct clause, his 16-year pension was forfeited in full. He was 44 years old with no certification, no pension, and a viral video that appeared in the first results of any search conducted under his name. His wife filed for legal separation 4 months after the footage broke. The house went on the market 6 months after that. Howard filed for personal bankruptcy the following year. Tanisha filed suit in federal court under Title 42 United States Code, Section 1983, citing violations of her 4th and 14th Amendment rights. Her attorneys, working with the FBI's Civil Rights Division, presented the 9 prior stops as documented evidence of a pattern. The lawsuit named Howard personally, the county, and the sheriff's department. The county's outside counsel reviewed the evidence and reached their conclusion in 72 hours. The footage was indefensible. The pattern was documented. The plaintiff was a federal agent with a clean record and a direct supervisor who had witnessed the attempted arrest. There was no version of a trial that ended well for the county. The settlement was reached privately, 14 months after the stop. $4 million. A consent decree mandating body cameras for every deputy in the department, quarterly bias training countywide, a civilian oversight board with independent investigative authority, and a requirement that every vehicle stop be documented with a specific, articulable legal basis before any contact with a driver. Deputy Ray Sutton was appointed acting sheriff during the investigation period. Within his first 30 days, he implemented every reform in the consent decree and requested a formal audit of every stop record filed under Howard's tenure. Tanisha Coppersmith received a $4 million private settlement. She was promoted within the Organized Crime Division 8 months after the incident. The joint DEA operation she had been working for 22 months concluded successfully the following spring, resulting in federal indictments across 3 states. She still drives the Escalade. She had a dash cam installed the week after the gas station. She wishes it was not necessary. It is. Saul Howard is 45 years old. He works a warehouse night shift at $14 an hour. His law enforcement certification is gone. His pension is gone. The video is not. Every employer who runs a background check finds it within minutes. In the 14 months since his termination, he has submitted 31 job applications. He has received 3 interviews. He has received 0 offers. He had 16 years on the job. He lost all of it in 25 minutes because he saw a black woman in an expensive car and decided, before she turned around, that she had no right to be there. Driving while black is not probable cause. Building something beautiful while black is not evidence of a crime. And when the person you choose to profile turns out to be the person whose job it is to investigate people exactly like you, the consequences do not just end careers. They dismantle everything you spent your life believing your authority would protect you from. Sheriff Saul Howard had 16 years in law enforcement and lost his badge, his pension, his marriage, and his house in 25 minutes at a gas station. The settlement was $4 million. Do you think that was enough, or should there have been criminal charges? Tell us exactly what you think in the comments. We read every single one.
If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next story. Share this video with someone who would appreciate it. And let's keep building this community together. And before you go, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what stood out to you the most. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next.
I want you to hold me so you know that.
Okay. Do you see anything?
No, no cap. I'm not even gonna touch it. It's blue hundreds right here. It's all the blue hundreds are right there behind that receipt. Thank you. All that's my money. He didn't have that.
This is your money?
Yes, I heard him crumble it up. Thank you. Thank you. All that's been recorded, right? That's my money. That's my money right there.
Sir, you've been watching me that whole time.
I seen you take it. I seen you crumble
Sir,
it. Just
that
count
is
it.
not me.
If I'm right, it's gonna be around $1,000. If I'm right, and like I told you, I just went to Wendy's. I seen you steal.
No, sir.
If you don't mind, I just want to sit down so y'all don't try to say I'm resistant. I don't want to do nothing. All I know for a fact is I know what I know and I've seen it. I just wanted you guys to trust me, you know what I'm saying? That's why I was just acting a little irate, but I'm perfectly fine, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to expose you.
That is not me, bud.
Brother, I just seen you steal my money. It was no reason for you to pop my rubber band, brother. It was no reason for you to pop my rubber band off my money.
I didn't pop your rubber band off your money.
I heard it. Me and you just spoke about it. You heard him agree to it when he first went.
Just take the whole holster off. It's one of them.
QLS.
I got it.
Sergeant Burke and one of his detectives will come and speak to you, alright? So, just chill out, relax. Do you need anything?
No, I just want to apologize to everyone. I say, man, one of these things, dude. And I'm sorry.
I hear, brother. Anything to drink or anything, man?
No.
On the 14th of March 2024, a black man named Moncray was behind the wheel, moving through the streets of Charlotte, North Carolina, his girlfriend's car, her money on the seat, bills to pay. A 5 o'clock pickup still on the calendar. Nothing about that afternoon was supposed to be remarkable. He was just running errands. But that drive did not end the way it started. By the time Moncray's day was over, he would be in the back of a patrol vehicle, handcuffed, watching a uniformed officer rifle through his cash. $900 would disappear from his possession and reappear in the driver's side door pocket of a police car. The officer who put it there would be arrested the same evening. He would resign the following morning. He would eventually walk away with 2 years of probation and a court-ordered course, no prison time. The footage from that afternoon body camera footage recorded by the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department's own equipment shows every moment of it. The theft, the denial, the confrontation, and the moment when Moncray, handcuffed and outnumbered, directed officers to the exact compartment where his money was hidden and was right. Before we go any further, if you have been looking for a channel that takes these stories seriously, one that walks through the full picture without deciding what you should feel before it even begins, you just found it. Subscribe right now and turn on your notifications, because the conversation this case opened is not finished. There are still questions about sentencing, about accountability, about what it means when the system does the right thing but not all the way. This channel will be here for every piece of it. Now, let us go back to Charlotte and walk through this beat by beat. Charlotte is not a small city. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department is one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the Southeast, serving a metro area of close to 2.5 million people. It is a department that has, over the years, been the subject of protests, reform conversations, and public scrutiny. It is also a department that, on the afternoon of the 14th of March 2024, had an officer on duty named Henry Chapman, a man who had worn its badge for 15 years. Moncray was driving his girlfriend's car that day. He had not intended to be in it. He told officers later that he had taken it because he did not want to spend the day using ride shares while his own vehicle was out. His girlfriend was at work a cosmetics job. He was supposed to pick her up at 5 o'clock. They were going to the bank together. The money he was carrying, nearly $8,000 in total, was hers, bill money. She had bundled it with a rubber band that morning and handed it to him. He had a Wendy's receipt in his pocket from earlier that afternoon. He had the girlfriend's name on the registration. He had a plan for the rest of the day. What he also had, without knowing it, was an outstanding federal arrest warrant issued by the United States Marshals for a weapons violation. Chapman pulled him over. The stop began the way most stops begin: routine questions, license, insurance. The discovery of the warrant changed the register of the encounter immediately. Moncrief was going to jail that afternoon. The warrant made that a settled matter. What was not settled, what no one in that moment could have predicted, was what would happen to his money on the way there. During the search that followed the arrest, officers discovered the cash. 2 bundles, one of them bound with a rubber band. The other officer present at the scene made a point of being transparent about it. She told Moncrief directly that every dollar found on him would stay with him. That was accountability, she said. She counted it in front of him. She put it in an envelope. She told him not to worry. Nothing would go missing. Chapman was assigned to transport Moncrief to the University City Division Patrol Office, where another officer would take over the custody transfer and deliver him to Mecklenburg County Jail. That drive the time between the traffic stop and the handoff is where the story breaks from the ordinary. When Moncrief arrived at the patrol office and the transfer of custody began, something happened that Henry Chapman had not accounted for. Moncrief heard it, a rubber band snapping. That sound was specific to him in a way it would not have been to anyone else in that room. His girlfriend had bundled that money with a rubber band that very morning. He knew the sound of it, he knew what it meant, and the moment he heard it, he did not panic. He did not lunge. He did not do anything that could be used against him. Instead, he began to talk, calmly, precisely. Loudly enough for everyone present to hear, he told the officers he believed Chapman had just put some of his money between his legs. Chapman's response to this was 2 words: "We're good." Moncrief did not accept that. He asked the officers to check. He told them he was not going anywhere. He told them he had been cooperative from the beginning and was not about to stop now. He asked them directly, plainly, without raising his voice to a level that could be characterized as threatening to check their fellow officer. Think carefully about what this moment required of him. He was handcuffed, he was in custody, he was standing inside a law enforcement facility surrounded by the colleagues of the man he was accusing. He had every structural reason to believe that his word would be dismissed before it could land, and yet he did not stop. He did not retreat into silence. He held his position and kept building his case out loud, in real time, in front of people who had not yet decided to believe him. He told them what he had seen. He described Chapman moving through multiple compartments. He said he had watched him put the money between his legs. He said that every time the group's attention shifted back toward Moncrief himself, Chapman used that moment to move. He told them he believed the money had been worked toward the driver's side door pocket of the patrol vehicle. The officers on scene were slow to act. Some of them redirected the conversation back toward Moncrief, asking him how much cash he had been carrying, a question that, on its surface, sounds like procedure. But Moncrief read it for what it also was. A number established before anyone checked Chapman would become the number on record. If any money was missing, Moncrief's own stated figure would be used to quantify the gap. If he guessed wrong, if he gave a number that did not match what was eventually counted, it would be his credibility on the line, not Chapman's. He refused to give a number. He told them plainly that he was not going to name an amount while money may have already been removed, because then, if the count came up short, it would look like he was the one who had the story wrong. That is not confusion. That is a man who understood precisely what kind of trap was being constructed around him and chose not to step into it. He kept pointing. He kept describing. He kept asking them to look. Eventually, after sustained and unrelenting pressure, a sergeant walked to Chapman's patrol vehicle, and there it was, $900, sitting in the driver's side door pocket, blue hundreds, folded, tucked behind a receipt. Moncrief's reaction when the money was found is one of the most striking moments in the entire footage. He did not explode. He did not perform triumph. He said simply, "Thank you, thank you. All that's being recorded, right?" He wanted it documented. He understood that finding the money was only the first part. The second part was making sure no one could make it disappear from the record. When the money was found in his door pocket, Chapman's position collapsed almost immediately. He had already told the officers he did not have any money. He had stepped out of the vehicle himself and emptied his pockets to demonstrate this, apparently not accounting for the fact that the cash was not on his person, but inside the door compartment. He had said, "We're good," to colleagues who had been asked to check him. He had looked at the man whose money he had taken and said nothing for as long as silence would hold. Now, standing in front of a sergeant with $900 sitting exactly where Moncray had said it would be, Chapman did not maintain his position. According to the arrest records filed that evening, he admitted to having taken the money. His explanation was that he had not been going to steal it. He had taken the money. He had separated it from the bundle. He had heard the rubber band snap. He had tucked the bills between his legs. He had worked them toward the door. He had told his colleagues everything was fine when they had come to check. He had denied possessing any money when asked directly. He had watched a handcuffed man plead for 10 minutes with officers who were slow to listen. And then, when the physical evidence was produced, he said he had not been going to steal it. Chapman apologized to the sergeant on scene. He apologized to 2 others. He was removed from the area and placed in a separate room. An investigation was opened. The University City Division chain of command was notified. Internal Affairs was brought in. Within hours, Henry Chapman was arrested and charged with 1 count of embezzlement. On March 15, 2024, the morning after he submitted his resignation from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. 15 years of service? Gone in the span of 1 afternoon and the decision he made during it. Before this narration moves any further, it needs to stop and account for who Moncray was in that footage, because in the coverage that followed, his name appeared less often than Chapman's. His presence in the story was framed primarily in relation to the officer, the man who was stolen from, the man whose persistence caught the thief. Those things are true. But they are not the whole of what he did. Moncray was driving his girlfriend's car on a day he had not planned to be in it. He had an outstanding federal warrant he told officers he did not know about. He had nearly $8,000 on him that belonged to his family. He had a receipt in his pocket and a pickup time at 5 o'clock. He was not a man who arrived at that traffic stop looking for a confrontation. He arrived looking to get through his afternoon. At every stage of the encounter, the footage shows him cooperating. He stepped out when instructed. He answered questions. He did not resist the arrest. He did not argue about the warrant in a way that obstructed proceedings. He asked reasonable questions about his property and his rights, the kinds of questions anyone would ask when being placed in custody with a significant amount of cash on their person. And when he realized that money was being taken from him, he did not collapse into the situation. He built a response to it. He told the officers exactly what he had observed, step by step, in the sequence it had happened. He explained, without being asked, why he was declining to give a dollar figure. He identified the specific compartment where the money had been placed. He requested names. He asked for the names to be written down. He asked more than once whether the cameras were running. He addressed the footage directly at one point, not performing for it, but using it as a deliberate tool, laying out the sequence of events on the record so that the account would exist independently of anyone's willingness to believe him. He said at one point, "I just witnessed here today. Mr. Chapman went in my money. He separated my money. He was trying to steal it, and I caught him. He put it in between his legs. As his colleagues approached me, he worked it towards the door. He tried to make it seem like I was lying. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in full custody of these officers. I'm being detained. I'm not going anywhere. I don't want any problems. I'm not armed. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just pulled over for a traffic stop." He just tried to steal some of my money. He was not speaking to the officers in front of him. He was speaking to the record. He was building testimony in the room where it happened, understanding that the room might not be enough, and making sure something survived it. He was right. Henry Chapman did not look at just any person in that patrol car and decide to take $900. He looked at a black man who was handcuffed, a black man who had a federal warrant on file, a black man who, by every structural calculation Chapman could have made in that moment, would have a difficult time being believed if he accused a uniformed officer of theft. A black man who was, in that calculation, the safest possible target. That calculation is not an invention. It is inherited. It is the product of a system that has, across generations, told law enforcement explicitly and implicitly that black people in custody carry less credibility, less protection, and less consequence. Chapman did not create that equation. He reached for it. And on the 14th of March 2024, he acted on it. What he did not account for was Moncray. He did not account for a man who would hear a rubber band snap and immediately know what it meant. He did not account for a man disciplined enough to refuse a number that could later be used to discredit him. He did not account for a man who would stand inside a law enforcement facility, surrounded by an officer's colleagues, and calmly tell them the exact location of the stolen money and be correct. He did not account for the cameras. This is the reality that black people in America carry into every encounter with law enforcement. The awareness that a stop is not just a stop. That custody is not just inconvenient, it is exposure. That the person with the badge has institutional weight behind every word they speak, and the person without one has to earn belief in real time, under pressure, with no margin for error. Moncray earned it. He did everything exactly right, and the money was found precisely where he said it would be. But that should never have been the requirement placed on him. The theft should not have happened. The 10 minutes of dismissal before anyone checked should not have happened. The slow turn toward belief should not have happened at the pace it did. And the fact that justice in this case depended entirely on one man's exceptional composure rather than on the systems that were supposed to protect him is not a vindication of those systems. It is an indictment of them. Henry Chapman was charged with 1 count of embezzlement. He resigned the day after his arrest. The body camera footage was released publicly by court order on the 25th of June, 2024, more than 3 months after the incident. It circulated widely. It was watched by millions of people across every platform. In September of 2024, Chapman appeared in court and accepted an Alford plea. Under an Alford plea, a defendant does not formally admit guilt, but acknowledges that the prosecution's evidence is strong enough to secure a conviction at trial. It is a legal instrument that allows a person to resolve a case without standing in a courtroom and saying the words out loud. His sentence was 2 years of probation and a mandatory cognitive behavioral interventions course. No. Prison time. CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings issued a statement following Chapman's arrest that said the video showed a police officer committing a crime, stealing money from a person in his custody, and that adherence to the law was an absolute for police officers. He called Chapman's actions a contradiction of what the department stood for. Those words are correct. They are also not accountability. They are a statement about values, issued after the fact, directed at an outcome that the department's own systems did not prevent and might never have surfaced without a body camera and a man sharp enough to use it. Chapman stole from a handcuffed black man. He lied about it. He tried to outlast the accusation. The evidence was recovered. He admitted to taking the money. He accepted a plea. He received probation. Whether that constitutes justice is a question this channel will leave on the table, because it belongs to the audience, not to the narration. What can be said plainly is this: the gap between what Chapman did and what Chapman received is a number every viewer can calculate for themselves. On the 14th of March, 2024, Moncray was behind the wheel on an ordinary Thursday in Charlotte, North Carolina. His girlfriend's money was on him, her car was around him, a 5 o'clock pickup was ahead of him. He was not looking for a confrontation with anyone. By the end of that afternoon, he was in handcuffs listening to a rubber band snap. And in that moment, that single, specific sound, he made a choice. Not to be silent, not to let it pass, not to accept the calculation that had been made about him. He built a case in real time, with nothing but his memory, his words, and his refusal to be dismissed. And he won it. The money was found, the officer was arrested, the badge was surrendered. The footage is on record. But the story does not end with one verdict in one courtroom, because for every Moncray who hears the rubber band snap and knows what it means, who has the discipline not to give a number that can be turned against him, who stands inside a facility full of law enforcement and describes exactly where the stolen money is hidden and is right, there are others who do not get that moment. Others whose money disappears and no one checks. Others whose accounts are too easily dissolved by the weight of a uniform and the silence of colleagues who did not see anything. This channel exists because those stories are all part of the same story. The one that ends in an arrest and the one that ends in nothing. The one caught on camera and the one that will never be. They are not separate. They are the same architecture, producing different outcomes depending on how much evidence happens to survive. If Moncray's composure in that footage struck something in you, if the image of a handcuffed man patiently building a legal case while a sergeant moved slowly toward belief landed the way it should, then do something with it. Share this video, leave a comment, tell someone about it. because these stories lose their power the moment they stop being told. Subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications. Every case we cover is still moving. Every story here has a next chapter, and this channel will be present for all of it. The way these things disappear is through silence. We are not going to be silent.
Anything, I'm not using my words like to try to hurt anybody. I just know what I know. And then I don't even like the fact, but I know you guys have like special protocol. I don't even like the fact that he just tried to steal and nobody like stood up for me. You feel what I'm saying? Like nobody was like, okay.
Nobody saw anything
but
that
I
you were
seen
saying,
everything.
but nobody saw anything that you said.
I appreciate it, Mr. Morris. You his sergeant.
Yes.
Yes, he is my sergeant.
You know, sir, I have 20/20 and I can read. I remember when you called him out, I could tell you everything he said to you. Perfect timing. This was perfect. Perfect that you called me out this time because you didn't know the protocol to how a federal warrant was supposed to be taken care of. Correct? Incorrect?
That's correct. That's the reason why I called him out to ask.
But you just separate. Whoa, so what was the purpose of you separating my money while you gave her money, while you just watched her count my money out in full? Because you just wasted an evidence. You wasted an evidence folder. Because now she has to rewrite a totally different number. So if I would have agreed to the number that I didn't know when she asked me, then I would have been like ridiculed or foreseen as a liar or something. That's why I didn't answer your question, ma'am, because I said that I had just went to Wendy's. I believe that's my receipt. I only ordered a 10-piece nugget and I ordered like a fry and something to drink, so I didn't know the actual amount of the money. All I know is when my girlfriend got off work at 5 o'clock, I was supposed to give her that money for the rest of the bills and she was going to get her car back. I was in a car this week. That's why I wasn't in my own car, ma'am. That was my girlfriend's car, Diamond Alexander. That's why when you initially pulled me over, and y'all probably have my phones, you can see the call record. I called her at like 4 or something to let her know, babe, I'm being pulled over in your car. And my eyes, I thought it was gonna be for the T-tag, temporary tag thing, the sticker, but like
it was initially just for your speed. I promise you that.
No, I apologize, sir. I apologize. I'm just trying to do what I gotta do, but I know for a fact what I heard. I have 20/20 vision. I'm not a criminal. I don't do things that I'm not supposed to. I heard him tampering with that rubber band.
Okay.
That rubber band was on that money because my girlfriend gave me the money this morning and told me I wasn't even supposed to be in her car. I just took it because I didn't want to be Ubering around all day, and my girlfriend had a car and she was going to work. I was supposed to be picking her up off Central at her job, at her little, where she do cosmetics at. With that money, we supposed to go to the bank. I'm pretty sure when y'all check the car, y'all see the little Chase.
What's your full name?
Moncree Tyree Moon. M-O-N-C-R-E, last name Moon.
Do we have all your information?
Yes, sir, but I want to know what y'all gonna do about Mr. Chapman.
Okay.
He was just caught at work, tampering with evidence.
Mr. Moon, I'm gonna do my job, all right? So
I want it wrote down. I'm not gonna lie. Now, listen, Mr. Morris, I'm not gonna cut you off.
Listen, there's nothing I can give you right now to tell you what I want to do. But like, what I can tell you what I want to do is if you allege that he did something, honestly,
did you recount the extra money?
You said it was 1,000.
No, like it's 900.
Oh, it's 900. I have it right here.
It's 900.
Do you mind, like,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was what I could put in. It was separate.
So like if you allege that Officer Chapman did something.
So you guys don't
listen. I'm telling you exactly what I'm gonna do. Do not parse every word I'm telling you. I'm telling you exactly what I'm going to do. All right? Is that I have to get on the phone. I have to call my supervisors to run up the chain. All right? But you're still going to jail.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Okay.
I wasn't trying.
But like that's why I'm asking you if you gave them all of your information on how to get in contact with you. Did you do that? Name.
Only thing I was my first name and last name.
Do we have address and a phone number?
You still have a gold pan?
Yes, sir.
We'll see to get your phone number. We have everything else.
What's your phone number?
You can take my girlfriend's number. And my mom can take my mom number too.
So what's your girlfriend's name? What's your mom's name?
Her number.
Okay, you'll be hearing from us soon, all right?
Yes, sir. Do you have a piece of paper on you?
Yeah. Or
just for like to put in my property. I would like for you to write down Sergeant Moore's name. I would like for you to write down Mr. Lack's name. I would like for you to write down your name and Mr. Chapman's name.
Right,
and it's not like I just don't want to forget it. You feel
Let me finish searching you.
Yes,
because I
ma'am.
have to get you in my car. Okay?
My information is also on the citation version.
I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate you guys for like analyzing the situation, because like if it wasn't said like this or seen like this or foreseen like this, nobody would have believed me. You feel what I'm saying? I just wanted you guys to believe me, and I'm sorry if I seemed irate or
There's another $1 in your pocket.
or I'm sorry if I seemed like I was doing too much. I just wanted you guys to believe me without me having to do anything like to show you guys, you feel what I'm saying, like try to grab him or try to like reach in his car and grab the money while I heard it. You feel what I'm saying? And I know it was a lot going on.
I knew there was something in here.
I just know like y'all be like,
Yeah, they'll do that again at the at intake.
yes ma'am.
Captain, his ID is on the dashboard up there.
Okay.
Do you mind putting it in my evidence file? Can I get like y'all names or down?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alright. Okay. So like this is what's going to happen, alright? We have people coming in, obviously they have to talk to you, alright? So, I want to hold on to your weapon right quick, okay?
Yep. Go ahead. Just take the whole holster off. It's one of them.
QLS.
I got it.
Sergeant Burke and one of his detectives will come and speak to you, alright? So, just chill out, relax. Do you need anything?
No, I just want to apologize to everyone. I say, man, one of these things, dude. And I'm sorry.
I hear, brother. Anything to drink or anything, man?
No.